Welcome to Life Extension Live. I'm Dr. Mike, and this is
Dr. Crystal.
Hey, today we're going to be talking about cholesterol. Hey, Dr. Crystal, lay it out for us. Is it still important for me to check my cholesterol every year?
Short answer, yes.
Absolutely. And it's not always just about being on the high level with heart disease, all that, right? You also don't want to be too low because cholesterol does a lot of things.
Yes, it's responsible for hormone production. It's a precursor for vitamin D in the body.
People don't know that.
It's needed for healing. It's a part of your cell membrane. So cholesterol is important, and we don't want to go too low.
So on today's show, we're going to be talking about cholesterol, the different types, the different ways to test. And if you are on the high side, things you can do, lifestyle, food, nutrients, to bring it into the more optimal range.
Yes.
All right. So let's get right in. Just real quick. Let's don't get bogged down in this. Most people already know because they've had cholesterol tests, right? They know there's total cholesterol.
Yeah.
There's LDL.
The bad. I'm saying that in quotes.
Be careful. There's really, bad's a bad word. But there's the cholesterol that if you have too high may not be great, LDL. There's the HDL. And then you're starting to see a few more like VLDL, those kind of ones. Those are just more variants of the LDL. So those are your kind of big, broad categories of LDL from a conventional viewpoint.
Yes.
And from that conventional viewpoint, let's talk about what's normal.
Yeah, so we can talk about total cholesterol, number one. And this is some information according to the Mayo Clinic Health System. And it depends on your age. So let's just focus on men 20 years and older.
Yeah.
LDL less than 100, HDL more than 40. Women, LDL under 100. Again, HDL should be over 50. Now, although these levels are considered normal, they may not be optimal. Life Extension, we kind of give you some different categories for what we would consider to be optimal.
And we do that because we're looking a little deeper into that research, right?
Right. It's optimal health, really the level that is going to reduce your risk. Right.
Yeah. So LDL, going with the more optimal levels, should be 80 to 100, right? Some even say 40 to 80 if you have pre-existing disease. Keep that in mind. So 80 to 100, that's good. If you already have had a heart attack or you're at high risk, right?
Yes.
LDL between 40 and 80.
So 80 to 100, that's good. Even better, 40 to 80, but maybe even lower if you have pre-existing.
Yeah, it goes even, some people, there's a new article
even lower,
out.
Less than 40 to 70.
Right. So now, but that's if you have risk. Let's keep that keep that in mind. Most of us healthy, 80-ish, 90-ish.
That's right.
Pretty good there. So keep those optimals, and then HDL. We just think over 50 across the board.
Over 50, or at least half of your LDL.
Right. And so again, the LDL is kind of called the bad stuff. We don't like that, but it's the LDL that takes the cholesterol from the liver to the cells, dumps it off, and then anything that's left over is the HDL bringing it back, right?
So, yes.
Of course it's more complicated than that.
Of course it's more complicated because we're now seeing that LDL plays a big role in reverse cholesterol transport too. That's kind of some newer data. So we certainly want all of them. Right. If you are in good health.
You need all of these cholesterol transports so that cholesterol can do the job it's supposed to do, which is a lot and very important jobs.
Right. But I think the big thing that we need, the point to get across, is your traditional blood test. You see that one cholesterol number, the other numbers are pulled into that one number. So you can't just focus on total cholesterol.
For sure. Absolutely. And that's where sometimes conventional testing gets, conventional testing, let's just talk about it now.
Yeah.
Conventional testing, we've all had it done. I'll put it this way. It's a good start. It gives you an idea of risk for heart attack, stroke, that kind of stuff. But it's it's not complete. How about
I would
that?
agree with that,
Yeah.
doctor. That's a good way
Yeah.
to put it without offending any of our
And I'm not. I don't
cardiologists,
want to offend
physicians
anybody.
out there.
But we've learned more about different subtypes of LDL, different subtypes of HDL, even other types of fats and proteins that get together and play a role here. And it really, if you really want to assess your risk, it takes advanced testing.
Yeah, and that advanced testing will give us more information on those subtypes.
Right.
Yeah.
But I started this show asking you the question: is cholesterol still important for me to check every year? And your answer was yes, and I agree. Let's not glance over this. There's a lot of good research. We even have some quotes here from some pretty famous doctors. There is a relationship. It's pretty well established between high LDL and cardiovascular risk.
Yes, and that is well established. Life Extension has looked into this. We do have a cholesterol protocol on lifeextension.com where we kind of go into some of those details. So we are not sitting here saying that it does not matter, those numbers.
Yeah. So when we talk about the advanced testing, by the way, we have a nice deal for you. Life Extension has a nice advanced cholesterol test. We'll get to that at the end. What you're going to find is a breakdown of so from the traditional one you see LDL, right, and you get a number. Well, what the advanced testing does is it takes that LDL and it breaks it down into the different types. And why that's important is because turns out some of those subtypes of LDL are really bad for your arteries. Other types of those LDLs, not so bad.
Right, absolutely.
So you want to know where you fall into that. You can't just look at that one LDL number and think, oh, that's a huge risk. What if you have some of the nicer LDL?
Well, I think that takes us to kind of breaking down some of those subclasses, right? So you have the LDLs can be classified as large and buoyant.
Happy and desirable. Fun.
Yeah, happy and fluffy.
Fluffy. You want the fluffy.
And then the other kind of small category would be your smaller,
angry, small, dense, ready to fight.
Small, dense LDL versus the large and fluffy. And you won't find out that information from the standard lab test. The other thing you want to know is also particle number.
Actual number, right.
Actual number of those particles or atherogenic particles. And you find out a lot of that through testing ApoB.
Yeah, the ApoB proteins, all of that's in the advanced testing.
Right.
You're not getting it in your conventional. So remember, conventional is a good start, but it's not telling you the whole story about risk.
Right, and just to paint the picture, you can imagine if your cholesterol is 100, okay, Dr. Mike, and this is just for analogy purposes. Imagine having two balloons. Cholesterol is 100, right? Or LDL is 100. Let's say 50s in one balloon, 50s in another balloon, and that's going through your bloodstream.
Right. Okay.
Right. Versus same LDL is 100, but maybe it's in 100 balloons.
Yeah, way more
or
balloons.
50 balloons.
Right. That's the particle.
More balloons.
Right.
And those particles the more of those particles around, the more they're transporting potentially that cholesterol to your arteries.
Yeah, they're clogging up the system.
The more they're likely to get oxidized, and the more likely they are to cause heart or translate to heart disease.
Right. And you're not going to know any of this with the conventional test.
Right.
Right. So advanced testing not only looks at your pattern of LDL, big and fluffy, small and dense, also breaks down the subtypes of HDL. Turns out some HDLs are more protective, some aren't.
Very true.
Right?
Different sizes
Different sizes and stuff. And then you got your particle number as well. So at the end of the day, there's just so much more information in an advanced cholesterol test that allows your physician, your doctor, and yourself to be way more confident about your risk level.
Yeah, and we have a study to support this. In a study that included over 18,000 participants, there was a significant association between small LDL particles and the incidence of cardiovascular disease independent of traditional risk factors, including your standard lipids, in participants with low or intermediate and very high risk. So you may be low risk, but if you have those small particles,
it's not an accurate assessment then.
right?
You have to know an accurate assessment, which means you need to know pattern, subtype, particle number, all of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Woo!
I know.
Hey, it's important. This is important stuff, right? I mean, if the whole point of conventional cholesterol testing is to assess risk, don't we want to do it right?
Right. I think to me, that's the definition of preventative medicine.
Yeah.
Healthcare instead of sick care.
Right. Yeah,
And you
good.
usually will have these more advanced testing after you may have shown signs that you have cardiovascular disease. Maybe
Don't wait
you've
for the
had an
signs.
event,
Don't
right?
wait for
And
the
now
signs.
you have been assigned a cardiologist.
Yeah.
And
Now you're getting the whole thing.
now you're getting the advanced
How about
testing.
getting the whole thing before? Ooh, we're on a soapbox.
We are.
Hey, it
But
is-
we're here to help you. So, and we get really passionate about this because I know, Dr. Mike, you've seen it in practice. We've heard the stories from customers, from patients that this advanced testing saved their lives.
It's amazing. Yeah, so many stories. And we have a deal for you for the advanced testing for life extension, so hang in there. Let's kind of shift gears real quick.
Mhm.
Sometimes, I don't know, it's kind of fun. Sometimes I like to throw in questions to you that are trending, right?
We do.
Like Google,
get
like,
lots of
like-
those.
Like, you know, people going on Google and type in something about cholesterol. So here's
Mhm.
you want to hear
Okay.
a big one?
All right. Give it to me.
People on Google are typing, what are the 5 signs of high cholesterol?
5. They're typing the
5.
number 5.
They literally are saying 5. There's really not 5, is there?
So they're technically no real signs. You're not going to feel it. Oh, Dr. Mike, I feel like my cholesterol's elevated. You're not going to feel it. That's why annual testing is important. Again, even if it's the standard test, it's a
Yeah.
first start
Yeah,
for many people.
Again, standard test, good starting point. I think where this question's coming from
Mhm.
is you have these rare cases, familial hypocholesterolemia.
Mhm.
These are
Oh.
genetic issues. They have high, I mean, we're talking total cholesterol's in the
Mhm.
800,
Mhm.
900 at that. And they get some things on their face and ears and stuff or whatever, their eyes.
Yes.
I think that's where this is coming from.
Yes, so I have, and he's gonna laugh at me, but that's okay. An iridologist. Look at my eyes. So, and sometimes they can say, "Oh, now you can see you can see the cholesterol ring around your."
That's that. You don't need to do that.
Don't do it.
Because if I'll tell you what, if you're in that category of these familial diseases,
Yeah.
you already know.
Oh yes.
So, but I think that's where that question's coming
Mhm.
from. Now, again, I do want to mention, because we talked about genes there for a
Mhm.
sec. There's 2 ways where cholesterol can go up in your body, right? Either you're consuming more than you should, or there's a genetic component to it, meaning my liver, which is where we make cholesterol,
Mhm.
might just be really genetically superior to yours in making cholesterol. And so there's that component as well. Because when we tell people to eat low cholesterol, it works for most, but there are subsets of people it doesn't work at all.
Very true.
So you got to remember that as well. There's a genetic component to your level, and there's a dietary component to your level.
Very true, Dr. Mike. And those variations determine if you are on cholesterol medication, which type may work best for you.
Right. Yeah, that's a very good point.
You know, there are medications that target the liver's production of cholesterol, and then there are medications that target the GI. If you are a great absorber,
Yeah.
and most of your
Some people
cholesterol
are,
it's coming from the diet, then you can target and lower your cholesterol in that way.
Right. So it's just something to think about, right? And that's why, how often do we talk about needing a multifactorial approach to things, right? When you look at heart disease, in this country, we spend a lot of time talking about cholesterol,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we should. Not saying we shouldn't, right? But there are so many other risk factors to determine whether you're going to have a heart attack or not.
Such a good point.
Right.
Chronic inflammation, oxidative stress,
Wait,
elevated homocysteine.
Stop.
You're getting me going.
You're doing
we
my
get
list.
Excited about this.
I had
topic.
the list right here. Life extension. I mean, this was a long time ago. It's kind of an old way of saying it. We don't call them daggers anymore. But we how many 17?
19.
19 daggers, risk factors for heart disease, and cholesterol is one of them. High LDL, low HDL, high triglyceride, all of that's there.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's the only thing you're going to focus on, you still may have a problem.
Right.
Right? So now, Dr. Crystal, let's go through that list of things we want to manage in our lives to reduce risk overall of heart disease, not just cholesterol.
Yes. Well, then you have lifestyle. We can start there because I was going into sort of the labs. Of course, stress management, smoking.
Oh, yep.
Diet, just in general, making sure you're eating the right foods. We will go over some of those. Saturated fat in the diet.
Mm-hmm.
We do know there is the connection with the saturated fat, animal products. Let's see. Oh, drinking alcohol.
Drinking alcohol too much.
Avoid drinking more than 2 drinks per day among men and 1 per day for women.
Yeah, most Americans hear that and they're like, what?
And then we can get into things that you can test.
I'm gonna add one more though. Sugar.
Well, that's kind of going into the things that we can test. So elevated blood sugar.
Yeah.
We know that.
Absolutely. Diabetes is associated with accelerated atherosclerosis.
Very true.
Sugar raises some of that angry, small, dense LDL stuff.
Yes. Low omega-3s, low vitamin D. Again, the homocysteine.
How about low omegas? Did you say that already?
I did omega-3s. Reducing oxidation, minimizing inflammation.
Let's stop there. Those two, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the whole pathology of how a plaque forms,
Mm-hmm.
right? You got your artery and it's supposed to be nice and clean, but we get these little plaques on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the key steps in that process, the initiation, is the fats, the cholesterol, they get oxidized and they become sticky.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where they stick to that wall, and the injury to that endothelial cell, to that lumen of the artery begins. Reducing oxidation levels is critical.
Yes, absolutely. And then managing inflammation, because the body kind of comes in and tries to clean up that injury to the wall.
Yeah.
And if you can keep that injury, reduce the inflammation in that injury, then you're less likely for that plaque to rupture.
Right. Yeah.
And then
with the higher levels of inflammation, you're activating a huge immune response.
Mm-hmm.
And that immune response causes all kinds of little problems. There's these real cool cells called foam cells we're not going to get into all that. But at the end of the day, you get oxidation, the fat sticks, inflammation because there's injury there now. The immune system comes in, and that plaque just goes.
Right.
Yeah, we don't want that.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the idea. I mean, many people have plaque, but their plaque's not inflamed.
Right.
So that's why you kind of have to look at the many factors involved. Ultimately, what you're trying to prevent is a heart attack, a stroke.
Exactly. And that stuff happens when those plaques rupture. And that happens with what we call soft plaques.
Mm-hmm.
If inflammation's high, oxidation is high, you have some of these other risk factors, LDL is high, that's going to lead to a soft plaque that's going to rupture and cause the heart attack.
Right.
If we can harden that plaque,
mm-hmm.
bring down your inflammation, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I got to tell you, most people in my age group, men and women, have some plaque.
Oh, we have plaque children.
Yeah, they start early.
I mean, you see plaque development in young
Robson,
children.
you and I have plaque. Yeah, see? So the thing is, I want my plaque to be hard, stay to itself. And that's where these steps, don't smoke, don't drink too much, get some exercise, diet, take good antioxidants, lower your inflammation with those omegas, all critical.
Right. And so obviously the soapbox, all roads lead back to the topic of today, which is cholesterol. And the takeaway point is cholesterol is not the end all. And yes, we're talking about cholesterol, how to lower it, but the broader focus should be how to decrease your risk.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're getting at.
That's kind of where we're going with all of this. So when I asked you at the beginning of this, is it still important for me to check my cholesterol annually? The answer is yes. But now we know yes, but let's talk about advanced testing. Let's talk about these other things causing risk. Because at the end of the day, it's not having the heart attack. We focus so much on the cholesterol, we forget why. Right? It's really to lower risk of heart attacks and strokes and stuff like that.
Yes.
Just real quick, I wanted to read something about stress.
Okay.
Don't kid yourself. Stress is not good for the heart, right? This was a study, almost 60,000 people, community center. They were going through cardiovascular screenings, right? They found that participants who reported high stress had a 53% greater risk of elevated cholesterol and compared to those who reported low stress. We've always been thinking about what's the connection between stress and heart disease. Maybe in this case, it is that cholesterol level. Interesting,
I think so,
right?
yes.
Yeah. I see it this way. Stress is turning you on. And when you're on, you're making fats. You're making cholesterol. They have to start traveling. You need hormones. I think that's where all that drive is coming from.
Well, I think, yeah. And we had our researcher, Dana, asked her to look into the why. And we came up with a couple of ideas. One is cholesterol is needed to make the stress hormone. Right. It's a precursor. Also, stress involves increasing blood sugar. And maybe that's
mobilizing for energy and stuff.
Yes, mobilizing for energy and the stress belly and kind of that picture of metabolic syndrome. So potentially that's what's going on as well.
So what are we going to do about all this? We gave them some ideas, right? We went through that list, advanced testing, all that stuff. So let's get to the nitty gritty. And we start with food first.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's your favorite list? List
them out. Whole grains.
Whole grains.
We do that. That's going to give you trace minerals, fiber, magnesium, which is going to control those
don't
risk
look at
factors,
your list. Don't look.
Potassium.
I'm going to quiz you.
Okay. All right. He's quizzing me. Hands down.
Go ahead. You got, there's
so
one, two,
I put whole
three.
grains.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 things.
Geez.
8 things.
Okay.
So you said
here
one.
we go. So whole grains, fruit, vegetables, of course, making sure that 80% of your plate are your fruit, vegetables, beans, nuts.
There you go.
Some good fats, omega fish, fatty fish.
There you
Is
go.
it on there?
There you go.
I don't know. Okay, let's see.
You're doing
what
good.
Else. Fatty fish, olive oil,
oils.
Good fats.
There you go.
Avocado, olive oil, those medium chain
You're missing just 2 simple things.
Missing the fiber. Did I say fiber?
Fibers?
That's whole grains.
That's whole grains.
Fruit, vegetables, fiber.
How about lean protein sources?
Well, that's my fatty. Fish.
Yeah, I was thinking more fish for the omega is more of the chickens and the what we call white meat, and then just watching how much dairy.
Oh, so limiting saturated fat. So
that's kind of where that is. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
You did pretty good. Give Dr. Crystal a hand. She is our doctor of clinical nutrition. She's the one that's going to know.
Let's see.
Now let's go. What did you just do? Did you just do it? Okay. So that's general dietary recommendations. There's more targeted foods too, right? Let's go through that. I won't quiz you this time.
So, are we talking about like the nutritional add-ins, the extracts?
Yeah, like the extract stuff like that. It's some more targeted things you can do.
There are a few things that we have shown to be beneficial. Artichoke leaf extract. There's some good research, 250 milligrams twice a day.
And that's probably, I'm sorry if I may,
yeah.
That's probably associated with getting cholesterol out, bile, because in artichoke with the liver and the
You do
gallbladder.
see that. So
Yeah.
that is a part of the mechanisms of action. We saw that in kind of animal models to see that it is helping with bile production, which is going to use some of that cholesterol in that way. What we're seeing here is that it is in 2 months at that dose, it's increasing HDL.
Nice.
10% from baseline in this study, and average total cholesterol fell by about 15 points.
That's pretty good.
So this
Artichoke
is just something
leaf.
you can add in. Artichoke leaf extract, 250 milligrams, 2 times a day. Another one that I love, Indian gooseberry or amla.
Amla, yep, Indian gooseberry.
At 200, the amla is 500 milligrams twice a day. One study, 12 weeks. Great improvements in HDL
yeah.
increased by about 7 points. LDL in this study went from around 134 to about 105.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Triglycerides from about 198 to 157.
That's good. So you have
this is in 12 weeks.
One natural plant, Indian gooseberry, like giving you your lipid profile, improving all.
But what's even better is that there was a decrease in inflammation, CRP, NF-kappa B.
We're hitting all those points.
Improved nitric oxide production.
We didn't talk about that one, but that's key.
Yes.
Keeping those arteries open and flowing.
So amla is one. It's one of my favorites.
I'm sorry. The list of Dr. Crystal's favorites. It's like an encyclopedia. What about garlic? We got to talk about garlic.
Yeah, of course. Garlic is going to help with blood flow. Of course, it's an antioxidant. And there's some research that may help to support healthy cholesterol levels. One that I love to talk about, B5, just a vitamin, pantethine, has been shown to reduce the rate of cholesterol production and speed up the breakdown. Ooh. So a modest benefit at about 600 milligrams.
Again, multifactorial approach. You're eating better. You're being more active. You quit smoking. You've lost some weight. You're controlling sugar. Adding these things in, it's just a well-rounded approach.
Well, one thing I like about these nutritional add-ins is that they are not just targeting one mechanism.
Yeah. They're hitting
it's not
a bunch
just
of different
targeting
things.
the enzyme that's involved in making cholesterol. When we understand that this is a multifactorial issue, let's come in with some antioxidants, target oxidative stress,
pull some things
pull some inflammation in, and I think that it gives you a more well-rounded approach.
Man, that was some great information. Loaded with a lot of good stuff for people to learn, help to reduce the risk. By the way, if you want to take that advanced cholesterol testing we were talking about, you can go to lifeextension.com/cholesterol. What tell us about that page?
Yes, and while you're there, if you purchase the test, at checkout, type in the code LELIVE to receive 10% off plus free shipping.
That's pretty good.
Yes, LELIVE. At checkout.
There you go. Lifeextension.com/cholesterol. It really is important. I believe that advanced testing is key. Right. Hey, listen, thank you for joining us today. Don't forget, we go live every Wednesday at 12 noon. Wherever you watch us on. I got to learn all these different channels, Dr. Crystal.
You want me to list them out? List them. So there's LinkedIn, there's Instagram, there's YouTube, there's Facebook. I think that's it for now.
And wherever you are, there's a way for you to be interested. You ring a bell, you do something.
And share.
And share it. But that way you always know where we're going to go live. That's every Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern Time. I'm Dr. Mike.
I'm Dr. Crystal.
Thanks for watching.